Good evening and welcome to Candid Conversations with Tess. Tonight we have Mr. and Mrs. Oduor back in the studio to talk to us about parenting. We know that most couples look forward to becoming parents even as they get married. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Oduor.
Thank
Please
you.
introduce yourself to us once again.
Okay,
You can
thank
start with Mr. Oduor this time.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Tess, for having us again. My name's Jacob Odwar. Married to Cynthia Waga. We've been married for now almost 18 years. We are getting to 18 in June, in 3 months' time. 3 months, yeah. Less than 3 months' time. Yeah, we are blessed with 2 kids, a boy and a girl. The boy is 17 years now, and the girl is just getting to 12 years. Yeah, we are born again.
Cynthia?
Yes, my name is Cynthia Waga, as my husband has said. Yeah, blessed with 2 children.
Great, and congratulations. 18 years
Thank
is
you.
not small thing.
Thank you.
And 2 children.
Yeah.
So probably help us understand, where do we start talking about parenting? At what point in the dating or in the marriage do we bring up the conversation of children?
Okay. The conversation of children should start even at the dating scene, because it is important to understand that before you get married to this person, how many children do they want? Or there are those who decide that they do not want children. So you need to get that conversation going, and how do you want to bring up your children, and come up with how you have seen your parents parent you. Sometimes you might have had some lessons that you feel like you can be able to carry them on, and some that you might not be able to pick them up. And so it's important to start the conversation as early as possible when you start dating.
So how do we reconcile, even as we start the conversation early, how do we reconcile the differences of a man wanting 10 and a woman wanting 2? Or just differences in how many children?
Okay, so at the end of the day, all these decisions that we make in marriage from the beginning, from the first day we start dating, always will end in a compromise, requires a compromise. For instance, look at the kind of the color scheme during the wedding. Yeah, you'll have to put on some red or yellow or something. Somebody may not. Yeah, somebody may not like it, but you will be there the whole day with yellow or something. I don't know. So the point is, somebody may want 10, somebody may want 2, but that discussion must happen if you have decided to work together as a couple, to agree that it is either 2 or 10, or the average of that, which is maybe 6 or 5.
So in terms of after marriage, what happens if children don't come? There's a couple waiting, and some of them have even broken in terms of, because children are not coming. What would you advise a couple? Let's start with Cynthia.
Okay. I think my advice to couples who are still waiting on God is to keep on pushing on and wait on the Lord, but at the same time seek medical attention just in case there's a medical issue, but be able to support each other in that situation, because it's normally very draining trying to wait, and every other time you are waiting and you see there's no child, there's no pregnancy, and so on and so forth. Or some who have even gone through miscarriages. So I think it's important to support each other and be able to stand with each other during this season of waiting. But then there are also instances where you will realize that you might need further medical interventions that might be too expensive for you maybe to get, or if you can be able to afford, you can do them, and you're able to get a baby. Alternatively, I think even adoption and even taking care of your relative kids and so on and so forth. As long as there's a longing within you to become maybe a mother or to become somebody who cares for others, it is important that you both discuss but you support each other.
Yeah, so on the issue of children, like anything else, it's important for the couple at the dating stage to understand exactly what marriage is about. Marriage is never about kids. I mean, these are byproducts of marriage. So we must be able to understand, the two of us, at the beginning, before marriage, that kids may come, kids may not come. And it's helpful normally if you have that conversation at the beginning before marriage and deal with the what ifs. So what if we don't have kids? Will we separate? If that is so important for the two of you, then that is not marriage. That is something else that is supposed to look for kids. Yeah, and anything else. But when you find yourself in a situation that you don't have kids in the marriage, you had not discussed how to deal with it, then obviously again you can go through what she's talked about. If it is not medical issue which can be sorted out, then you can, if it is so important to you to have kids, you can look for kids, your nephews, adopt. Yeah, and then also sometimes it's so heavy on some people, you go for counseling if it helps. But if you are strong enough, then it is important to just accept that this is one of the situations that can happen to us. Like an accident, for instance. I'm not saying this is an accident, but assume one of you gets an accident and gets a permanent disability. Do you divorce because of maybe somebody then is disabled?
Good question. So let's look at the transition of parenthood. God willing, children have come. And you used to be two of you. Now there is a stranger, in quotes.
Yeah.
How does it change marriage, and how do you transition from that period of being single in terms of just the two of you and down to becoming parents? We start with you.
Yeah. I think when you get a child, it really is a moment of, especially for the woman, it's a moment of deep reflection and a lot of joy that comes with it, and connection that this is a human being that, came out of me. And it is something that you really can't explain, the connection that you have with this child. So there should have been some preparation mentally that now there is a child coming. Yes, there are things that might be negative by the fact that the child has come, but there's also the positive aspect of seeing this human being and knowing that their future depends really so much on you as a parent to this child. I know some men will always complain that we focus more on the child and somehow it's like we are
Neglect them.
neglecting them.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for them to be understanding to an extent that when they come in and assist in helping out in the small chores, especially with the child, they also come in and bond easily, and they make you feel the connection between the two of you, so that you feel like it is not just my burden, it is and it is not a burden, it is our blessing that we are looking after. So it makes it much easier, especially when there's more understanding, because now even the budget will increase,
Yeah.
the space, the sleep. Somehow you don't sleep for like almost a year or so, especially if there's some children who even cry throughout the night and so on and so forth. Yeah, so that would also affect issues to do with your marriage, intimacy, and the likes. So there's need for your spouse to be understanding.
Mr. Oduor, tell us about what can men do to support the woman, especially at that time when she's given birth and there is that period of intimacy is not the same.
Yeah.
What do you say?
So I think, I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, for those who have kids, and parenting is one of the things that you are always least prepared for. You come back home or come back from the hospital and you find you are 3 now. But I think it's always important, something we don't do as men, to prepare ourselves gradually, that my wife is now expectant and is going to have to bring somebody, a third person, into the house if it's the first child, because this is where the problems come in. Second, you already have some experience. Yeah, to prepare our minds that there are going to be changes inevitably on her relationship with me, and that mental preparation for men is so important. because then you understand that this is our child. This is my child. This is not just her child. Something or somebody she just brought from somewhere.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and what you said is also important. Getting involved in the child's life from the beginning helps you to appreciate the intensity of the work that is required to get her some space to do other things, including to have attention for you, sleep.
Different sleep.
Yeah, so I know of so many men who just sleep, snores when the
The child
baby
is
is
crying.
1 month.
Yeah.
The mother's
The ladies
it's
left
the
alone.
lady's responsibility. But then, if you expect that the mother to do all that throughout the night, and 1 month, 2 months, the babies are always crying, you don't expect them to have time for you for anything, including intimacy, right? Yeah, so you must be prepared to support, first of all, your wife, but also, secondly, to be involved in the baby's life. Because that bond then creates the personal touch
With the child.
with the child. You get the feeling that this is not just a stranger.
So probably in terms of help, support during that time, there are situations where, especially in the past, the lady would go to the mother-in-law to stay with her for probably a month, or the mother-in-law would come to the house and support. Is that still a viable option today, or there's also the issue of house helps? What would you advise? Let's start with you, Mrs.
Okay. I think it's still a viable option. The only problem is the availability, especially of the mother-in-laws to come in.
They are very busy
Yeah,
these
because
days.
sometimes they are very busy.
Yeah.
And the fact that now some of us have moved far from your homes, so the house help becomes of assistance also, though the house help cannot assist you overnight because they will be doing the work during the day. They will help cleaning up and doing these other things, help you carry the baby, you take the baby back and so on and so forth. But at night, you'll still have to work. Somehow the child still has to be under your care because you cannot delegate your parenting to somebody else. Yes, they will assist you, but there's need for your spouse also to assist. And I think I congratulate him. The second baby was a CS, and he used to wake up at night
Wow.
and do most of the work and feed the baby and do so many things. And I'll be the one asking, how many
She
times
doesn't-
did she wake up?
She doesn't wake up any time
What?
at all.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that created a very good bond with our daughter. Yeah, and she says I'm daddy's girl, and
Tell us
Yeah.
about that, Mr. Odur.
No, I think it's if you are a person with emotions,
Yeah.
then you have somebody here sleeping next to you and a baby. Of course, the baby is not yet transferred to the court, to their own court. And the person just came from hospital, from an operation, who is struggling to even walk. It would be so inhuman to expect them to still take care of the baby waking up. They've been with the baby throughout. Maybe you are working, I'm working. When I come back, I'm of course tired, but humanly, it's not right to leave somebody who is obviously sick to be taking care of the baby. If you can assist, you assist. Yeah, I think there are so many people who have that heart, that human heart to help. It doesn't look like an obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like something that is you have to do. Yeah, you enjoy doing it.
There's something she talked about. Now you now have a very good bond with your daughter because of that. I believe because of that foundation. Maybe tell us about, let's say something about the bonding of the men and the children, and even of the woman and the child. How can parents ensure that the child is bonding with both parents, not just one?
I think it's important to be involved. The more you are involved in the child's life, the more you connect and the more you know your children.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that it is not just a person who decides that my work is to oversee and not to train. The Bible says you train up a child. And so when you are involved in training, then it means you are giving the instructions, you get involved in what they are doing, what are the games that they like to play, you play with them and you come to their level. the bond keeps on increasing. And so for the men, it's very important for them to always bond with their children.
I mean, for me, the work of a father is both a disciplinarian, I mean, maybe the work of parents, disciplinarian and a friend. You are not supposed to look for the bonding or friendship at the expense of discipline. So I am everything to the child depending on the context. So the children know the boundaries. There's a red line which when crossed, then I'm no longer a friend. And they know it. When my voice changes, when my they know that now the father is talking. And I don't say it twice. So, but then to develop, that should not define me as a father. Otherwise, the kids will just be fearing you when you come back. The disciplinarian is here. So and there are so many instances when we can develop that friendship. When we're in the sitting room watching the TV, for instance, you make jokes. In fact, sometimes what we used to do is to give a paper to the children and tell them, write what you don't like about me and what you like about me.
Wow.
So it helps me also to look at this and see, oh, this one I can change, this one I can't change. I mean, I explain to them the things they don't like about me, that I do this because of this. Of course, you are too strict, you have so many rules. So, but at the end of the day, as a father or as a mother, because I know there are some mothers who are the disciplinarian, I must differentiate when I am supposed to be a disciplinarian and when I am supposed to develop that bond with friendship and jokes. So in this thing they like about me, they say, I'm the funnier one in the house. But on this other side, they said, I have so many rules.
He's always bringing out rules every time.
No, but you see, that is part of growing up.
Parliament.
That is always part of growing up, because a kid at 2, you have different rules for them. At 5, they experience new rules. For their benefit, of course. But then sometimes they think, oh, but yesterday we had this rule, now there's a new rule.
Maybe Mrs. Oduro, tell us about those different parenting styles and how to discipline a child in a godly manner, because even the Bible tells us that spare the rod, spoil the child. So tell us what your sentiments on that.
Okay. I think discipline is important in parenting, and it is very important that you take up your role, though the discipline aspect will now vary depending on the age of the child. You cannot use the same method when they are young. When they are young, you become a dictator, you become the commander, no, do this, do that, But there's a stage when they reach, you now become more of a coach. You have to work with them, let them experience the failures, let them experience, and we talk, we interact, and we know that I am disciplining you because you have done this, this, and that, because you already know this is the rule. And in case you do not, or you cross that red boundary, then there is repercussions. We need now to punish you. And the punishment is already set even before you do the punishment. So they already know, if I cross this line, I will be caned. But then it reaches a point when they become preteens and teens. You can't use the rod again, because some of them, the rod is like nothing. And sometimes it is maybe their friendships, the TV, the cartoons that they like watching. There are some specific gadgets that they like. Sometimes you have to withdraw. So you withdraw some of those privileges, and it really hurts them more than even caning. So the discipline will have to change, and the form of parenting will have to change as you go on. And when they are older, young adults, you become a consultant.
So now we're almost coming to a conclusion, but I'm reminded of stories I have had where children have gone through abuse, but they cannot even open up to a parent because there is no relationship of an open relationship where a child feels safe to come and tell the parent something is happening. How do you foster that relationship of a child being able to come and say, Daddy, this is what I'm going through? Or maybe your son wants to date, or your daughter is feeling like, I think someone wants me to be their girlfriend. How do you go about making that environment conducive? Can start anyone.
Okay, so maybe coming back to starting from where she left in terms of the different parenting habits, and then I come to that. You have the laissez-faire parenting where everything goes. And then you have the very strict one where almost tends towards child abuse, where the child is always beaten every day for any kind of mistake. I think those two extremes are very dangerous. You always need to get a balance. And I mean, this is not something that applies only to Christian and non-Christians. You always need to get a balance between being bringing up respectful kids and bringing up kids who are open and can tell you anything they have that is bothering them. So how do you do that? First of all, the kids must know. Okay, so first, what we have family values. They are 5. So the kid, and we discuss this with the kids. They know what is allowed, what is not allowed. They work within that framework. And we punish only for two reasons: disrespect and disobedience. And when the punishment comes, it is very painful. So, and you don't do it every day. Yeah. So beyond the punishment, now beyond the discipline, to inculcate respect and obedience in kids, how do you then bring them close to you to be able to open up to you? And you just caned them the other day. So, and not just caning, you can. What we learn is that if the kid gets corrected because of caning, you don't want to be always threatening them every day with the cane. That you see that? No. When you cane once in a year and it make it very painful. so they remember it the whole year. But after that, when there are good times, for us, we take the kids out. It doesn't have to be in a big restaurant. You can just go out for tea, even for a walk. And what I found also helpful, particularly with our son now, who is 17, is to open up my life when I was his age with him, so that he understands that what he is going through is not, he is not the first one to go through them. Maybe somebody else has told him this, that this is that age where you will experience this kind of changes. But when I told him my own experiences at his age, he opened up and told me, okay, yeah, so I also have this girl who is, blah, blah. Yeah, so you get the opportunity to an entry point where now you tell him, okay, and what are you feeling about it? Yeah, then he opens up more and more. So I think this, we have one-to-one discussion with the boy, with the girl. She has one-on-one discussion with the boy and the girl. We have joint discussions with them, so that they just understand that what they are going through, we have also gone through them, and we understand what challenges they are going through as kids. But also what we have had in the past is family meetings, where we set the agenda. It's like a formal company meeting where we call a meeting at 8 and then with minutes, and then review those minutes. They have their own agenda. They will come there and tell you, Daddy, I don't like the way you do these things. And you don't get defensive. You understand and correct where you can correct. But in the cases where you have to explain to them, then you explain to them that, okay, particularly the rules. This is a very contentious issue normally. They understand that we are doing this for your own good.
I think this is a conversation that can go on, and unfortunately we are out of time. So please give us your parting shot, just in a minute, because we are short of time.
Okay. I think parenting is a beautiful thing, and when God blesses you with children, you become a steward of these children and ensure that you try to bring them up in the way of the Lord. Because it is very important to know that there's a lot that you can bring out. There's a lot that you can deposit in these children so that they become respectable people in the society.
Mr. Odur?
Yeah, for me, parenting is one thing that you are always thrown into without any experience. Of course, they say marriage as well. But
Yeah.
parenting is so challenging, and it's never the same for somebody. You can't cut and paste what somebody else is doing in their own family or marriage to paste in your own on your own kids. But even more, from one kid to the next. Everybody is so different. You just have to learn how to deal with each kid separately and in a manner that inculcates respect, obedience, but also openness.